Hey y'all. So it has definitely been a long time since I recorded a video. Um, I'm trying something a little different. Today I'm going to use my laptop just because I kind of need a break from my phone. I need a better camera. I'm working on that, so I don't know if that quality is as good. Um, but I think it'll be fine. But it's been a while, and I'm sorry about that. I truthfully Um, lost two pets very close to each other. My hamster Hamilton passed away in early October, and then my cat of 19 years, Potter, passed away about 2 weeks later. So I was just very distraught. I'm still like really feeling that grief. Like it was like I knew it was gonna happen close to each other, just because of a hamster's lifespan. I got Hamilton back in March 2020, and March or April of this year, Potter was diagnosed with GI lymphoma. But he had a very good life. I just feel kind of bad that I wasn't able to get back up to my home. Since he was old, we had decided it was better for him to stay with my mom when I moved off for grad school. But he had a good life. I miss my bud. It was hard losing both of them so close together. Like I said, I knew it would be close, but I didn't know it would be that close. So I just had to take some time for myself, and I had things going on for school, but trying to focus more on the positive. So today is going to be like a fun little video that I've been wanting to do. It's going to be like my first kind of review, and I don't think it's going to be like one that necessarily appeals to a lot of people, but it was like the series as a kid that got me more into comic books, and this was actually the first series that I completed the run of, like actively was going out. I think I gave my parents, or not parents, my grandparents, because my grandpa loved buying pocket watches off eBay. I like gave him money and be like, can you order me more of these books because I can't find them at comic book stores or Barnes and Noble. So probably not like a big surprise, but this is Legion of Superheroes in the 31st Century. This is the first. I'm gonna look at the first 4 issues. Please don't be horrified that they're not like boarded, bagged and boarded. I got these. I think because they're kids' books, they don't really like think to do that. At the LCS, so I actually just got like a bunch of boards and bags, and then I'm gonna take better care of my books now. And though I do think I might try to get like some better copies of these in the future, but I'm always gonna hold on to these ones just because sentimental value, and I love this series, but I don't necessarily think it's gonna be one of those ones that's worth selling if it means a lot to me personally. So I thought I'm gonna do like some sort of like nostalgia series, and I'm sorry, but this is gonna be like mid to late 2000s nostalgia, because that's when I was growing up, and so I thought I'm gonna do it. It's gonna be 5 parts, looking at 4 books at a time. I think might change that up because it's a 20-issue run series. And then if I enjoy it, then I might try to find like I have a couple Justice League Unlimited comics, so I might do something like that. Try to find more of those, more like the Teen Titans Go comic book series, like the one that was based off like the original animated series in the early 2000s, not Teen Titans Go, the shorts, which are amusing but still not quite the same. And hence, I am wearing a Raven t-shirt. You can tell sometimes. I was a big fan of Teen Titans. So let's start off. So issue 1, honestly, story-wise, kind of sucks. Just gonna be honest. It was a weird way to start like, hey, this is my favorite series. It's kind of more of like a companion to, if you've seen the first episode of Legion of Superheroes, the animated show, Man of Tomorrow, which brings in Superman to the Legion. It's kind of like a good companion to that. And it's kind of retold like what all the Legionnaires think of him, because he shows up, and if you're not familiar, he's wearing his sweater vest, so not very Superman as we think of him. Like in Lightning Lad even makes fun of the sweater vest. I'm just like, screw you, Lightning Lad. He's like, there's like a line where he's like, he says his mom made it. I'm like, don't you dare insult Martha Kent. And it's kind of like this is something that will probably come up in the series. For me, season 1, Lightning Lad, I felt like was just like an immature jerk. Like I feel like he was like your stereotype like popular guy jock jerks thing going on. And a lot of this, it's kind of like things that, so like in the show, like they have it like Lightning Lad saying, "Don't give up, Clarky." Lightning Lad does not say that. Lightning Lad is trying to show that Superman's not all that because he doesn't think they need help. It's Bouncing Boy that is encouraging Superman. And there's just like, but there are some funny moments. Like, because they go through and show him like all the things that different Legionnaires do, and like kind of like a little profile on them, and I like it gives like background. Like for a lot of the Legionnaires, their names during the show like aren't mentioned. Like Brainy's never referred to as Coral Docks. Bouncy Boy's never referred to as Chuck. The only ones that do show up, Lightning Lad is referred to as Garth. I forget his name right now, but Matter Ear Lad's real name is mentioned. Tenya, Phantom Girl's name is mentioned, and Bryn Londo's Timberwolf. And I think that's pretty much it, other than obviously like they call Superman Clark. So that was kind of cool, like especially if like you're a kid and you're just getting into the Legion superheroes, that was like your introduction. But they're like, so what do you bring to the table? And he says, hello, faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. And Lightning Lad's like, what's a locomotive? And Saturn Girl's just going, which I feel like Superman's not really saying locomotive as much even once you reach, when is this released? June 2007. Like, train's definitely super popular still, and very great form of transportation if that's an option to you where you live. I don't feel like that's the emphasis on Superman anymore, that he's more powerful than a locomotive, but it was still fun. And I feel like it would be super outdated in the 31st century to say. And I mean, basically it just goes frame by frame. Like when he meets the Legionnaires, he's at a carnival and they help him save like this Ferris wheel that is falling. And he's like kind of overwhelmed, and they're like, hey, we're from the future and we need your help, because who wouldn't think they're crazy? And the scene that it showed is basically showing like the Legionnaires saying, hey, we're gonna go travel back in time so that we can get to his house before he gets there. And like it's a little, and like there's deviance, but it's kind of based off like what people's personal perceptions are, and that's kind of like the running joke. And Saturn Girl's really the one that has it like more to the T of like what actually happened. But the whole reason they bring Superman to the future in the first place, in the show and in the comic, is to fight the Fatal Five, because the rest of the Legion's kind of scattered throughout the galaxy and they need help. And it kind of goes through all the like the Legionnaires think of Superman during the battle, because he kind of jumps in and turns the tide and kind of inspires them. Like there's this line, look at Superman, if he's not going to give up, we can't either, that Saturn Girl says. And she says this almost verbatim in the show, except for I think in the show she actually says look at Clark. And because they're all under like the Emerald the Eye of Ekron from the Emerald Empress, like it's mind control, and they're able to like he kind of inspires them to fight it. And he even learns a new power in this. Like, this is also directly from the show. So, like, Eli tells him, hit her with your freezing breath, my what? Think cold and blow. Which I think is really cool to think, like, I mean, there's different versions of Superman becoming Superman and finding out his powers. Like, if you watch Smallville, like, he doesn't fly, basically, I think, until, like, the last episode. At least as Clark proper. I think there's different times where he's, like, on red kryptonite or has, like, weird possession things going on. But there's always, like, new things he's learning. So I thought that was pretty cool. So that's it for one. It's, I mean, pretty straightforward, just like a little companion. And issue 2 follows, like, is somewhat similar in that it corresponds. The second issue was I Was a Teenage Timberwolf, and the second episode of the series is called Timberwolf, and that's when they meet Bren Londo. But instead of it being like, here, what is happening, like, here's us giving our overview, side by side of, like, what played out in the episode, it's more like, here's what happened at the end of the episode, and then we're going to, like, talk about, like, the immediate. I feel like it's probably, like, a couple hours afterwards. So it starts with, right where the episode, and if you've seen the series, the episode ends with Timberwolf making the pledge to become a Legionnaire. And it's great, like, it's, because, like, Superman is technically joins the Legion in the previous episode, but they don't really do, like, the whole shebang of, like, doing the, like, swear-in, and it's kind of cool, like, because you get to see more of the Legionnaires of, like, the background who are watching on their screens. And it continues, like, stuff that was going on in the episode, like, Brainy and Bouncing Boy have, like, this whole fight going on, like, where Bouncy Boy feels that Brainy is a bit too controlling when it comes to the ship, particularly with, like, all of the technology, like, where he just wants, like, thinks she should be using autopilot, all that jazz, and Bouncing Boy, like, being a pilot is in his heart, and he doesn't really want to rely on all of that. And I do think this, like, kind of powerful. So Timberwolf is reflecting on everything that his dad did to him, because I'm not as familiar with, like, Timberwolf's backstory in the comics, just because I've honestly prioritized, like, Brainy stories so much more, that I'm still, like, exploring more of the characters. But his, like, father, I know, like, this doesn't happen in each version of Timberwolf, but his father does, I mean, as you can see, like, has mutated him, and this is kind of, like, his more, like, human form. Like, he can, if he loses control, he turns into, like, a more werewolf-like creature. But I like here, like, he is actually shedding tears, and I think that's just an important thing to have in comic books for, like, all heroes, but especially, like, male heroes, like, showing that it's okay to, like, let your guard down and show, like, some emotions, especially, like, he is processing a very traumatic event that's not going to be easily handled in just a few hours. That's something, like, there's even an episode in season 2 of Legion of Superheroes called Cry Wolf, that focuses on, like, Timberwolf and his dad's relationship, and his dad, I mean, spoilers, I've been out for 13, 14 years now, but his dad, like, frames him for murder by basically making, like, a copy of himself and tricking Bren into killing him by, like, messing with Bren's mind. So, like, everyone, like, it looks like Timberwolf just killed his dad. But that's not really what happens, and I'll get into that another time. More Brainy and Bouncing Boy arguing, and if you aren't familiar with, like, this, like, rendition of the Legion, Brainiac 5 is actually human. Not human, sorry. He's not a human in this. He is an android. I think there's like I really feel like I read somewhere one time, like on a wiki page or something when I was younger, that like clones in this like universe are like 95% robotic and then 5% organic. So it's just, and of course, since it's his first big flight with the Legion, I don't feel like it can be his first flight at all, because he's not like, I forget which planet they get him from, but he's from Zune originally. So he did have to travel to another planet at least once at some point. But the Legion cruiser are attacked by these lunar leeches. Also nice Powerpuff Girl, Johnny Bravo, Billy Grim Adventures of Billy Mandy ad right there. And just more, sorry, there's like on each of these, and there's just like a little mini, like the Batman comic that's like a Big League Chew advertisement, so I've always skip through those. Oh, and I do love like the ship coming to a sudden stop and everyone just being like smushed. I like funny moments. I think it's nice to have those humors in comics. And there's a cool scene where basically Superman goes and grabs the cruiser. And I like that, using the like classic Superman. I might like try to like do a better image of that, because it's just pretty cool, because like it looks like a job for Superman. And he actually does this like at the end of the episode, before like Timberwolf makes his pledge. Their thrusters to get them into the atmosphere aren't working still, and they want to get the heck out of there, because Dr. Londo is a jerk who's was abusive to his son, so they don't want to stick around there, and like you don't know what he's going to do if they stay anyway. So I thought that was cool, because it made me think of the episode. And they get out to fight these leeches, and like start attacking Brainy. It's just not going well, and then Timberwolf jumps in, and this is like he had helped them out like in the other episode. I mean that like that's why they knew he could be a Legionnaire. But that was like his moment in the comics of like saying like, hey, I can help, this is what I can do, because he was kind of like spending the whole book feeling kind of like useless, just because he wasn't sure what to do on the ship. So he was like finding who he was, and that's pretty cool. So it changes up format for the next 2 issues. There's no longer like books that are like paired perfectly to an episode. And I don't know if these operate like in the same continuity. Like I don't know if this is considered canon in the show. I don't think it is. And you'll see like this book shows why I don't think it is. So it's called Infection. This came out in August. Oh man, that would have been almost like a cooler cover, I feel like, to have for like October, but to each their own. I'm gonna like flip over my notes. So this starts issue 3, August 2007. Starts with Legion tryouts. Always fun. And this is going to be like a Freaky Friday style issue. And they're taking place like on like a different, like I think it's like a little planetoid or something, and they say like that's where the United Planets wanted them to have their tryouts. There's actually an episode year, like about the Legion tryouts called The Substitutes. Sorry, if I look behind me, it's because of Oliver. You see his little ears. I'm sorry, there's no, I almost need like a little chair for him right here. Anyhow, so they're trying to meet different, like, see who could be new blood. Some fun plays on Clark's 21st Century Origins. Lightning Lad, what would they call that back in his time? A slam run or a home dunk? I could see that happening. That being the legacy of our lingo. And you recognize, so I don't know all the Legion of Substitute Heroes, but they have Doubleheader, Night Girl, Polar Boy, Chlorophyll Kid, Color Kid, and Stone Boy. And most of them, especially, there's still one more that's going to be introduced. Chlorophyll Kid, Color Kid, Stone Boy, and Porcupine Pete, make up like the Legion of Substitute Heroes and the actual show. And they premiere in an episode called The Substitutes because they don't make the cut for the Legion. And I mean, like, I feel like some of them could have promising powers. Like, I really feel like Polar Boy could, like, maybe get, like, a better control of his powers and might make that work. Night Girl's powers seem weird just because she can't, like, she could only use her super strength in complete darkness. Then again, we're back to me feeling like Lightning Lad is unnecessarily an unnecessary jerk. Because he flat out just, he's like, can we go now? None of those losers is Legion material. And then everyone starts, like, fighting about, like, whose powers are cooler. Like, funny scene of, like, Phantom Girl. So Phantom Girl and Brainiac 5 are, like, my two favorite Legionnaires, so, like, any interactions in between them. There's, like, Jeepers, because she phases through him. So they're all fighting, and then Infectious Lash shows up. I'm sorry to interrupt. Am I too late for tryouts? And all the boys are gawking over her. Like, everyone. And at first, like, I think Phantom Girl and Saturn Girl aren't sure what to make. But then she immediately, like, infects Lightning Lad with, lava pimples. I can't remember what it was called. And immediately Phantom Girl and Saturn Girl favor her. She even says to Brainy, I can even whip up techno-organic nanoviruses able to break down Cthulhu firewalls. We're going to get into, like, my thoughts on Cthulhu anatomy in the next issue. And so Superman, like, asks a very serious question. And he's like, okay, so you can sicken one of us or two of us at a time, Infectious Lass. But what would you do to incapacitate an entire group of foes? I feel like Superman's asking, like, a really good, like he's asking, like, the serious interview question. And I feel like a lot of powers can, like, pack a punch, regardless of super strength or not. But knowing how to use your powers effectively, I feel like that is what makes the difference in between being a good hero or good villain. Well, I guess I should say effective villain. So she basically decides it would have to be a bug that isn't dependent on the individual susceptibilities of your various species. Now, there's this rare Durlin antigen that negates superpowers by blocking metareceptors after an initial bout of Viper vertigo, of course. So open up and say, "Aw." And then, like, nice. Pretty much everyone who is touching each other switches powers. Though I love, like, Rennie's like, Superman hasn't been inoculated against 31st century diseases. Kind of like, okay, I think that's an interesting question for a time travel stuff to take on is like inoculations, vaccines. Because, like, do you inoculate someone that's a time traveler? Like, I feel like if I went to the future, like, there would be tons of things I wouldn't have an immunity to and I'd want protection from. Then, like, am I at risk of breaking down this time stream when I'm sent back for having that in my body? That's curious. I almost feel like, though, but maybe they should, like, inoculate Superman so that I feel like it might be more dangerous to not have Superman become Superman in the timeline. And of course, so everyone's freaking out. There's some, like, like, kind of fat shaming jokes directed towards Lightning Lad since he switched powers with Bouncing Boy. He says, grief, I'm all swollen. And Santa Girl, who switched with Superman, is like, I'm ripped, and so is Lightning Lad's underwear. Mid 2000s, what can I say? And they get attacked by this group called the Kuns. I think that's how you say it. And, I mean, no one really knows how to use their powers, so it kind of not going to turn out well, but luckily, like, Infectious Last, who now has Brainy's intellect, and Superman, who now has Santa Girl's telepathy, are able to quickly and discreetly come up with a plan, and they're like, everyone just turn yourselves in. So I really want to say, like, for some reason, like, Timberwolf, like, switched with, like, Phantom Girl. I don't know, I just feel like he belongs in, like, some, like, romance, like, on the cover of, like, some, like, romance novel taking place in, like, the 1700s. But that's just me. So, they're held captive, and I think if you look at the different, like, how they're being held, you'll get at what we're about ready to say. And we're like, why did we get captured? And basically, they all just, like, the Kuns just made the decisions based off, like, how they were dressed, not how their powers seemed to be displaying. So they are being held in, like, devices that are meant to stop their normal powers. So they're able to break free quite easily. And everyone, like, kind of helps each other use their powers. It's kind of cool. Like telling, like, Bouncing Boy tells Lightning Lad, when you get that gassy expanding feeling, you gotta hold it in, like, Santa Girl asking Superman how to use heat vision, stare at a point, fixed point, when you feel the X-rays shift over to the higher radioactive bands. And, like, going back to Teen Titans, if you've seen that episode Switch, where Starfire and Raven switch bodies, it kind of reminds me of that, because they have to, like, teach each other how to use their powers, because they're both, like, they are based on emotion, but, like, for Raven, it's, like, having to control your emotions more compared to Tamaranian powers of Starfire that, like, where you're really supposed to embrace them. And it ends with, like, their Brainy and Infectious Last decide to use a disease, like, it's like a stomach flu that only impacts Kuns. So, like, not fatal, just going to be really inconvenient for the next 48 hours. And they do want to induct Infectious Last into the Legion, which is, like, she does not get accepted. Like, she's part of the substitutes in the show, and she decides that she needs to learn to control her powers a bit more. But she says maybe she can serve as a substitute Legionnaire until then. And I feel like that's very, like, mature on her part, and also, like, that was something that bothered me, like, watching the show. I'm like, okay, the person that can make, like, any disease and illness possible seems like they could be a very powerful being that you would want to have on your side. But I think that's like fair of her to like realize like, hey, I want to control it a bit more. I don't know if like I don't know like I don't really feel like she used her powers like immaturely. Like in it, like she flat out they told them like what she was gonna do, and she did it. She seemed to have much more control than she does in the show. In the show, it kind of just is like free, like everywhere. And she doesn't really show like diversity of what she can do in the show. Like it's kind of just like everyone gets like you get to start sneezing. Okay, so this is one of my favorites, and it's probably like the one that like got my attention like in the comic book store, because Brainiac, no more. So this starts out with like the Legion is fighting the Fatal Five that's been attacking different like big factories throughout the United Planets. And Brainy has hacked into like their computer system, so he thinks he knows what's going to happen. And there's kind of like funny part of like Brainy like saying very like technical things like the Fatal Five have already blown up the 3 smaller Trillian plants in this galaxy. This is the only one that left and the only one that employs a biological workforce, people. So it's like Bouncing Boy in the background, like translating for Brainy. And the Fatal Five does show up. But they accidentally, like it doesn't go according to plan. And Saturn Girl gets knocked out. I like the little bed in the background for her. And they're trying to, like, Superman and Brainy are just trying to figure out what went wrong. And, like, Bouncy says, like, that wasn't our A game. And Lightning Lad's like, our A game? We were taking orders from the genius. As far as I'm concerned, this is Brainy's fault. And Saturn Girl will totally agree with me when she wakes up. Saturn Girl has never once in the show been someone that's just, like, flat out, like, this is all your fault. And, like, that we'll get into, like, why it isn't Brainy's fault. I mean, maybe you could argue a little bit. But Brainy decides the explanation has to be that he messed up in calculations and therefore he is getting dumber. And he decides that he needs to take the Kenquex test, which is the Coluan Aptitude and Intelligence Quotient Exam, which is something he's already taken, but he feels like he needs to do it again. He needs to like reassure himself or see what's happening. So he tells Superman to like be in charge while he's gone. I love his little bow tie. It's so precious. And he did ask like Superman not. He's like, don't send, and then it shifts to like the next panel is Lightning Lad. So Lightning Lad's Triplicate Girl and Phantom Girl go with him to Clue. And this is where we get into some more like Clue and like culture and like anatomy stuff. So he says, Cluans begin their educations in utero. Then they spend a year at home, attend primary school until the age of 5, and then high school until age 10. I skipped high school and went straight to university at age 5. And then he mentions that he's going to go meet his tutor, and Lightning Lad does think it's weird that he doesn't want to go see his parents. And that's something, like, different versions of the Legion have taken on different takes for Brainy's parents. In Volume 4, like the post-0 hour run, Brainy's mom, Brainiac 4, is the leader of the Dark Circle, does not really feel anything towards him. It's very upsetting. And sometimes Brainiac 4 is his dad instead of his mom, but usually his parent, like, I think one of the more recent series takes like he's like a slightly bit more positive approach. But overall it seems like his parents are usually very hard on him and very like distant. So I can understand why he would not want to go see them. So he like meets with his tutor, and then they flash to they're in a the other Legionnaires are in like a Coolan marketplace, and just like I feel like both scenes just like show like the diversity of the Coolans. I'll try to add it in right here, but if you've seen the show, like a lot of the except for like the hive mind that shows up in like the series finale, unfortunately, like all clones pretty much like look the same. Like they have like this silver armor and then like their green face. Like, the only difference I notice is like in their noses. But people here are like wearing more like people are wearing like t-shirts and hoodies. And, like Brainy's tutor is wearing like kind of like stereotypical like university scholarly gowns. Lightning Lab once again just kind of being a jerk. So I expected a planet of Brainiac 5s, you know, loners, outcasts, stiffs. They're just like misunderstandings of Brainy and him being like more of like involved in like his mind. Like I don't really know if like I would qualify it. I feel like Brainy is, you can consider him an introvert, but he like definitely like science and engineering. That's his passion, and that's like what he understands a bit more. And then I like Phantom Girl starts like sympathizing with him. Like she says, all isolated kids have one thing that they can rely on, one thing that never lets them down. For Brainy, it's his brain. And I don't know, like I like this side of Tenya, like because I think like sometimes like she was shown to be like a little bit more of like privileged, which does make sense because well, in the show, well, because like her mom is the president of the United Nations, similar to different versions of the comic books. So sometimes she'll come off like as like the spoiled like princess type, but she does really care about people, and I feel like this like that comes out like even more in the comics. So she buys Brainy tea and takes it to him and tries to cheer him up, but it doesn't go well. Like she says it's supposed to keep you awake, and he says thanks, not really necessary for the computer part of me, or not okay. Thanks, not really necessary. The computer part of me doesn't need any rest, and the regular guy part doesn't want it. And this is what I still don't. I like want like a complete like understand, like maybe one of the creators out there can like give me this understanding of how they're actually like Coluans are anatomically designed, or in like, because the robots I don't think of them in utero, but then it does sound like they're in utero. So I want explanations desperately. And then there's a cute scene of Superman is basically like checking all the different sites that Fatal 5 could attack and checking in while Brainy is taking his exam. And when Brainy gets out, Phantom Girl is there, and like Brainy is like super relatable and just like convinced that he must have failed. I think we've all been there, taking a test or turning that paper and like that we totally bombed that. The Phantom Girl, or not Phantom Girl, Phantom Girl wakes up and alerts them that she was able to read Fatal Five's minds before she was knocked out, and it turns out they realized Brainy had hacked them, and Tharok, their cyborg, he fed the system false information, which was inconceivable to Brainy, because he would never do that. But as Superman, I think it's Superman supposed to be saying it, it's illogical to you, but Tharok's half human, that half wouldn't flinch at corrupting himself, but meant messing with your plans. And then we have another part. So they are attacking a factory on Colu, and they're like, what do they make here? Computer parts. So on this planet, that's like body parts, huh? Actually, Triplicate Girl, and then Brainy gets cut off by Validus attacking. And again, I want explanations. and Legion kicks butt. I don't need to go too much into that. Brainy faces off against Tharok. Says you're a cyborg, which means you're half robot. Robots are controlled by computers, which is what I happen to be. And Tharok's like, can't move. Brainy's like, system crash. Happens all the time. And it ends with him like telling Phantom Girl that he decided he didn't want to know his score on the tests because he didn't feel like he could actually learn anything from that. But yeah, so that was like my first like little overview. I know there's some people out there that do have a lot of Legion nostalgia, so maybe that'll appeal to a few of you. I still am left wanting to know more about what clue of like this rendition of Legion of Superheroes is like. It's very different than versions that appear in the regular comic book. So I think it's something that maybe could have been explored more. Especially, big spoiler, but the show ends with Brainy becoming human. You have to watch it to like they don't really explain how exactly it happens. How like basically happens like after he defeats the original Brainiac in his mind. But I feel like that could have been like an interesting dynamic to explore if this show had gotten a third season. So I'll probably like bring that up in more future Brainy oriented books because I'm pretty sure there is one where there is like some Brainiac related stuff. But I hope you enjoyed. I do have a better setup of a chair, but I'm going to work on lighting more because I like it a little bit. I don't want it too bright because like I like zoom with that on and it's like crazy. So I'll get that set up eventually. But this is much nicer. Though I think Oliver, who is now at my feet, does not agree. But thank you for watching. I'm sorry it's been a while. I'll try to do this more often. I might do another unboxing video though next, but we'll see. Thank you.